Welcome back to some more Create Integrated. Now, where we last left off, I made a villager factory, like literally turned villager trading into a factory, and I built them some nice cozy shops, well, slash houses. Now today I have some plans. I want to get some more automation done for the processing side of things. For example, I want to be able to smelt certain things by throwing it into some blasting fans, and or automatic washing of things would be really nice. And I think a building over here would be really great for this, as I also want this to be a way that is really visual. Like, I want it to be very visual when this happens. And so being able to see this process happen would be really cool. But we also have this thing that I left last episode. This is the Flint Maker 9000, and technically it wasn't even making enough flint, so upgrading it is going to be very helpful today. But it does look kind of bad setting here, just doing its like thing. So I kind of want to convert this into a truck. I want to make it look like an actual truck is setting here, like a semi or an 18-wheeler. You know, there's so many different things you can call it. Or you know what, even a box truck could possibly work, but I need to get this upgraded. So what I'm going to do to make sure that this can produce enough flint, because we are definitely short on our flint production, is to head on to our enchanting area and, well, pull off some enchanted books. And I have just enough efficiency upgrades to be able to apply this to all of our equipment. And I'm going to get efficiency 5 put on all of our millstones and also get it on the crushing wheel. And I'm hoping that this is going to be enough. So now, before I start building this, I do want to shrink this down a little bit, because I think I went a little bit above and beyond, last episode. So I am going to take this and make it a little bit smaller, because we don't need it this big, because I completely forgot that, well, these mills that we're using, well, they can be powered from the bottom. Because yeah, if you didn't notice, this actually has a shaft at the bottom. I always forget about this because I think it's just like a complete pass-through. But if I can go ahead and make this smaller, that would be really good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some vertical gearboxes, and because the weighted ejectors do not care what direction they're spinning in to be able to eject the thing, I can utilize vertical gearboxes here to give me that spinning shaft, and this will make this setup a bit smaller, keeping it within a 3x3, which will make building the actual truck a whole lot easier. So I'll just go ahead and slap these guys on here. Look at there. And then make sure we get our crushing wheels put back together. And then I'm going to slap on the funnel to get everything speeding through here. And that should make this a bit faster at producing flint. Now, as far as the truck design goes, I mean, placing down the coal blocks here to kind of let me understand where I think I want my tires to be, this is a pretty good start. Now, as far as building trucks, whenever you build vehicles in Minecraft, I have found that building in a 3x3 can make it a bit more challenging, because a lot of builds look really nice when they're built in an even amount, especially when building vehicles. But it is doable with Create because we have all of these fancy blocks. So, for example, if I want to build a bumper can be made quite easily by using like an industrial iron block, and then we can use some girders on the side. And then we can make this look even fancier if we take a shaft, for example, and we stab a shaft in here. I think this is a fantastic looking bumper. Now, because this is a truck, I do want an engine, and I really love using a stone cutter because it gives movement to the actual build. And it kind of looks like a fan spinning, kind of. And for the headlights, Nixie tubes are really good for this. We can place Nixie tubes directly on top of here, and this also gives it another little bulge to the top. And so there's the headlights for the truck, and you can already start to kind of see it come together. Now, for this truck, I'm going to be going with a green color. I want to make this look green, and then the trailer will probably make white or something similar to that. We might even be able to use item vaults. Technically, I would really like to make this sort of look like a box truck. Now, the front of this truck is going to be sort of short-nosed, and I was wondering, is this going to work? I mean, we do have some clipping that happens. Oh man, in the stairs. That would look really interesting if I could maybe avoid that. Maybe if I use full blocks here instead of these stairs, that could be nice, at least for the hole being here. Because I am going for this like a 1950s-esque sort of feel. I really love this style, but a lot of the vehicles back then were really rounded. But you know what? This foundation might turn out really well. So I put some stairs upside down to be able to make these like fender wells. What we could do is we can change the color potential. I can make this like a darker color, maybe even use iron. And copycat steps will look really good like this. Look at that. Yeah, we got like some little fenders going on. That could work. Now the truck engine is definitely getting there. I've added the door. I've got some of this filled in. This is not going to be a very functional thing where we actually get inside and it's usable, but it is going to hopefully look good. Now to make the windows for this truck, which is not going to be very tall, by the way, we want this to kind of be smaller. I'm going to use copycat panels and we can place these in, and I want to rotate this, and we can use our wrench feature to do this. Let's rotate this to the east and have it facing out here. And then this glass will have to go sort of out on the outside, which will be kind of, it'll bulge out a little bit here. Go ahead and throw this. And we can use weathered glass, not in the pane form, but we can use it in its actual glass form. So weathered glass looks really, really good in this. Look at that. And like I said, on the outside, we can place this window. Now, keeping with the same green color, I am going to place it in a roof, but we are going to add slabs off of this to make this look a whole lot nicer. Well, a mixture of slabs and actually copycat steps. And we can get a really good texture if we use the pillars. We can rotate the textures. So by placing this on here and clicking with the block, we can keep clicking until we get like different textures. And I really like this particular texture, where it connects on the front. Oh, it looks so nice. Now, you know what? On the hood here, we can use a copycat panel. I'm going to place this in and rotate this until we get this texture. This is starting to look like an actual truck. The back of the truck, I want this to have this like box truck aesthetic, and I did find these iron sheet metal blocks that look really good. And so if I can get these turned the right way, there we go. Maybe having the entire truck like this flipped around. Oh, and it connects all up perfectly. That definitely gives off a white box truck vibe. So overall, I think the box truck looks okay. I probably could have gone a bit longer in the back, but I do like this like low profile. I think the tires, I don't really know. I think they do stick out too much, but like buttons, I always find that like stone buttons look really, really nice on these, and it kind of makes it look a little bit more like an actual tire and still keeps that Minecraft aesthetic, which I really, really like. As far as lights go, I do want to replace this down here with glowstone, which is going to trip this up a little bit, but that brightens it up and makes the whole truck look alive. And even on the back, I added some tail lights and dyed these red. To be tail lights, and in the front I made them yellow. And you know what? Another little touch that I could probably do right here on the roof, we can give it some smokestacks by utilizing these kitchen pipes. I don't know, that might work. I mean, I can only put it on one side because of the way that this is set up, but I would have to move the stock link to the front technically if I wanted to change this up. Which, you know what? I can do by clicking on here, which binds this stock link to this setup. And then by placing this, I do believe that the stock link will still function. Yeah, there it goes. Now that I got the truck done, let's talk about processing with fans. And I want to be able to use refined storage to handle the sending of the items. And then we need something that can drop those items into fans. Now, I did take a look at my fans and I was like, how many of these different processes do we have? And it looks like we have 8 if you subtract the bulk coloring, which I'm not going to do at the moment. Bulk coloring feels like it should be something separate on its own and maybe have its own building related to it. That way we can have a setup for like each color and all of that fun stuff. But right now we have 8 individual processes where we could set up crafting recipes. And so we'll need 8 auto crafters if we plan on doing this. And we are going to need a way to set these fans up so that way they blow the items up. And then we need something that can catch them in the air. Because like I mentioned before, I want this to be sort of visual and I want this to be a building right here. We can build another building that's kind of similar to these possibly, but I do want this to be a little bit taller, kind of going up in the air with this. I'm thinking something like this. We'll use some chain drives on the bottom, and then I'm going to need to route some speed over here. So I think I'm just going to use a regular a conveyor, chain conveyor, but I'm going to connect to this one down here. And then fingers crossed that this is spinning in the correct direction whenever I do place this in. So let's see, is it going in the right. It is not going in the right direction. Interesting. But you know what? That's completely fine. What we can do, just place a simple gearbox right here and then place that underneath. That will get the job done. Okay. Chain connected there. We'll dive on over here and then just link it in. I love being able to hide these things underground. Oh, this is so nice looking. And there we go. And that goes way up in the air. Now, technically, these don't need to be spinning this fast, but I am just going to leave it this fast. It's not a huge deal if it is. But just to show as an example, it will shoot the items way up in the sky this way. And it technically uses more stress to do this, but that's not going to be a big deal for us. Now, I want to keep this nice and consistent, so I'm going to follow the pattern within JEI itself. So first will be bulk blasting, then we'll go haunting, and so on and so forth. And I do want to keep them all consistent, and I want to place them all inside of catalysts like this. Now, I am going to need a conduit cage in this setup, and it's going to be really nice so we can create like copper and things like that, different stages. But this thing, I wonder if I can infinitely fill it with water. So if you give it enough water, it does eventually get an infinity symbol on it. So I'm hoping that I can pump it full of water, and then I don't need a water setup for it. Still, I find it weird that you can't actually fill this from the side. That feels really weird to me. But yes, this is going to be running at max speed. That is going to pump water into the conduit as soon as I break this block. There we go. And like I said, eventually this will show an infinity sign. I just want to see, once it gets to that stage, I want to try and remove all of this and see if this functions. Now, after letting this run for a little bit, I mean, this right here, conduit power, does have an infinity symbol on it. So now if I remove this and also fix my water mess, which is an absolute disaster. There we go. Does it stay infinite? It does not. Ah, interesting. Now this may have just placed a dampener on the entire setup. I may have to remove this one entirely, and it might need to be its own separate setup, because it does look like the fan can't even blow through the bottom of the cage. So you know what? This may actually call for an entire redesign. And you know what? It might be a little bit better, honestly. So I'm thinking redesign sort of like this. Of course, this is going to have a pipe underneath it, but everything else should be fine. And we'll have the fan go on the back. If I hold shift, it will place the fan just like I want. And this is going to make things perfect. I'm going to have this raised up a little bit, and this is where we can get by with a Starbuncle wheel. You know what? That is going to be beautiful, and it is just far enough. I think the push, just like our other one, so that way we don't have to filter anything. Now, I wanted to come up with a cool floor design, and believe it or not, the girders actually allow the items to slide on them. So we can use like industrial iron, set this up, have it connected on the front and the back, and then this will work. So we need a gap that is 1, 2, 3, and then the funnel would be the 4th block. And so 5 blocks is where the barrel is going to go. Place in an andesite funnel so we don't have to filter anything. And then we just simply toss the ingredient out. We need something that can toss the ingredients out in one go. And then that will then flush all the way over here. When it is converted, once it reaches this block, it will then be consumed and enter into the barrel. But you know what? I kind of want to see this process happen. So what if instead of doing it this way, right here, we have chutes that lead down into barrels? Then we can actually see the items. If we happen to walk through here, we can see the items. And so if we do the exact same operation here, where we drop the item down, the chute should pick it up when it is done, and it should just float right to the thing. This will allow us to see it a bit more. I think this will be pretty nice, right? That should just float right there. Oh, it doesn't in this case, but we could just have it drop down. That's another thing we could do. That way the items will just land right here and also get out of the path of this. You know what? I think this is going to work out really, really well. This should convert the item before it reaches the end. When it does reach the end, it gets pushed off, should land right into the funnel, should not bake or get destroyed. And down it goes into the actual chute. Ah, great. And we can have that go into some inventories. That should transfer almost immediately. And then we can hook this into the refined storage system. Got my water pump connected up to the conduit cage, and I just used a chain conveyor to be able to link this underground over to the main network over here. Now, over onto the actual chutes, I think I'm just going to use chests. And then down here, we'll have separate importers. That way we only need 4 importers. So now utilizing the pipe connector mod, I can connect up to this side. And then right over here, I'll connect down in. I went to the same Y level. And we'll set that. This looks like a pretty good position. But if this isn't a good position, by the way, remember that you can shift right click on this. And you can actually change it to like an AI pathing, which is going to make it a little bit more janky, but it might actually avoid things like, I don't know, our water that's down here. I don't know. This actually might be, this might be a good pathing. You can also choose to avoid inventories and also the guard chests and things like that. I think this is going to be fine. Let's go ahead and place pipes. And beautiful. Refined storage is ready to go. You know what? With all of these chests that we have hooked up here, we could make this even easier where we only need 1 importer, and that means only 1 upgrade card too. And we can just connect to all of these sophisticated storage chests by just attaching a regular storage controller to it. And we should be able to see the contents of everything that it's connected to without even linking it, just because the controller is connected to all of these connected chests. So for example, if I put the scaffolding all the way over here, we should see the scaffolding in the actual storage controller inside of Jade, which we definitely do. That allows us to control all of this, meaning that we can just put a single importer on here, and that will allow us to only need to make 1 stack upgrade. So this right here, that's some big brain energy. I mean, and as far as automating this goes, I've got all of my chutes set directly on top of the girders. It should just drop the items that are placed into the actual barrel, and the auto crafters themselves will just be chained all the way to the back of the barrel. And then we just need to run this single cable into it to power all of the crafters. Let's, for example, test the blasting. I want to make a recipe that smelts sand, regular sand. So I'm going to click this, set this to 64 so it does a stack at a time. And then we should expect an output of a single stack. There we go. And then we'll set that. So that's going to send out to this crafter a stack of sand to produce a stack of glass when requested. So let's see. We don't want to lock, I think, on any of this. We just simply want to request glass. That sends out a stack, which is going to prompt it in 16s because of the way that the chutes actually function. But that should finish. There it goes. And then it's going to drop into this, which is going to take just a second, by the way, and then be turned immediately into the chest, which then gets immediately returned to our system. That's pretty quick. Now we definitely want to label all of these, so I've got all of them labeled exactly what they are, because I could still also use this as a bulk system, which means I won't have to go over here as often. Having it in 2 places is kind of nice. And plus, this also goes right into our refined storage system. And just in case you were wondering what these are called placards. Now, something else cool that you may not know, you can take chutes like this, and if you don't like seeing that gap, believe it or not, you can actually close it in by using industrial iron on it. And this makes it a complete solid here. And now, just so I don't accidentally walk in front of this whole setup while it's going, put some iron bars around it. And now we've got a nice little area here. We'll even add some more industrial bars. Get these looking really, really nice. There we go. And in the back, I mean, adding some supports on the back here would probably look pretty good. And now the only thing left is to build a building around it, which we'll definitely worry about next episode. But there are some things that are going to help us with automation. For example, the automatic sanding, that is going to be so nice because now we can set up some more auto crafts. For example, rose quartz. This is going to be a really good one. We can now craft the actual rose quartz, but we can also polish it by utilizing this mechanic right here. So by throwing all of this in, I'm going to do this in bulks of 16. It makes total sense to be able to set this to 16 because of how many the actual chute works with. So we'll set it to stacks of 16, and the crafter is going to inject as many as it can anyways. But there we go. We'll toss this into the sander, and now I can just make as much of this as I want. It's so good. Look at that. Automatic sanding. Like, you can't ask for better than that. I love this whole setup. This is going to make things so much nicer for me. And you know what? If we ever need to upgrade these into higher tier auto crafters, it's just as easy as simply picking them up and just upgrading them to the iron tier, which will give us more slots. But there is actually another feature. You could just add another auto crafter to the back of them And yes, they do have the ability to be chained together to increase capacity. But I do like just having a single crafter on here. So upgrading it to iron, definitely the way to go. So now back to the real reason why I've set all of this up. Okay, so to be able to produce the corium that we're going to need, apples are really, really important. So we have a storage of apples here that are happening from the auto trading. Those will eventually need to be converted into chorus fruit. So we'll be able to send that recipe through here. So I do want to attach storages or refined storage to all of these. And of course, this is a really satisfying thing. Again, with the pipe connector, we can click our first position and then all the way over here. I'm going to set a position in the middle of this area. Oh, and that is going to be really nice. So that is going to create a beautiful connection here. All of those cables are now placed. And so what I should hopefully be able to do is from this position, we can go to the apples. And let's see, will it let me do a pipe connector from the top? It will not. Okay, so if I place a cable here, go down, and then use the pipe connector again. Let's see, we have to put these in our offhand. Put the pipe connector down here. There we go. That should work, but we do have to scroll wheel to get this level. So that's something I definitely want to do. I don't want it coming above the ground. So we'll set our depth to go all the way underground to be equal to that position, and it will extend up. Oh, this is going to be beautiful. Place the pipes, and it's already ready to go. And so now all I have to do is connect an external storage to here. And then on that external storage, make sure this is set to extract only. We don't have to worry about anything else then in this case. It's only going to be able to pull out of here. But now apples should show up. Yes, quite a bit of them. And that is just something I love about this pipe connector mod. Never have, like, cables have never been so easy to do. Like, this has made cables for me so much easier to handle. Oh my goodness, absolutely amazing. And then I'm so glad I've finally figured out how to use this mod. This has made my life so much easier. So perfect. Now with all of these connected, the true part can start to happen. This right here. Okay, so now let's head on over, and I want to be able to turn apples into chorus flowers. So chorus, go ahead and do this conversion right here. So apples to chorus. And then again, I'm going to say 16 on these. We'll send in batches of 16 at a time. Perfect. And we'll create that pattern. Then I want to take the chorus and turn it into popped chorus. And yet again, we'll do 16 here, like so. Get that all the way to 16. Like, just typing in the number, I guess, would have been faster. But we have two separate recipes, and this is just how seamless making any of the recipes are going to be. For example, I know that this needs to go into this crafter in the back to make the actual chorus. And then we know the smelter is over here, so we'll place that in. And now I can just on demand make popped chorus. Oh boy. Apples go in. It's once this operation finishes, then it'll also do this one. But in this case, I actually happen to have some chorus already. But yeah, it's going to send it as it receives it. So as soon as this even drops into the system, we should see another batch fall in. Oh, this is great. And so essentially we just automated corium. Well, kind of. So I do need to send polished quartz and then also popped chorus to our corium maker device right here. And so how's the best way to do this? Well, I'm thinking what we could do is we could have a barrel that sends into here, which will funnel into a chute. So right here, we would need a belt. So let's get a shaft, and then we'll place a shaft directly above this so we can house a belt. And then we'll have a little belt line that runs right here, and we can tap this directly into our current system. And then we'll have a funnel that leads right here. So instead of using the hopper here and the barrel, we can use just some chutes, and we can split the way that this sends ingredients. So I'm thinking right here, we will have a chute, and then we'll need a smart chute to divide items. We'll have a barrel that the crafter is going to be sending to, and then a belt that is going to run the item directly over here. Or actually, we don't even have to use Oh yeah, we can make this even crazier. What if we just use drains so we don't have to worry about rotational energy? The drain could go right on top and right here. This will transfer a filtered item from a funnel, and then it'll transfer it right into a chute. So we'll have the chute here. That's leading up. That'll transfer the items. You see where I'm going with this? And so right here, we'll place this. This is going to be the collection. We'll make sure that's rotated the right way. This needs to send out. And now we just create the filter. So chorus is what we want coming out of here, going into the deployer. And then on the bottom, this is going to be the redstone, right? Or the polished rose quartz. So we'll filter polished rose quartz is the only thing to be pulled out of this part of the barrel. And then up here, popped chorus is the only thing that will end up going into this chute. Or we could actually set this to a barrel as well to give it a little bit of a nice buffer space, I guess. Technically, instead of a chute. It will work into a chute, by the way. But there we go. I mean, this is basically ready to go. We need to put an importer over here and then get the crafter set up. And there we go. Importer on this side. I got the crafter connected in. Let's make a recipe. For this, I'm just going to leave it as is, but we do need to make sure that for one polished quartz, we are sending 4 popped to be able to get 1. We're also going to remove the lava. We don't need this, but this one does need to be set to 4. So this is what a recipe split should look like just to produce 1. We'll create that, place it into this beautiful monstrosity, and let's give it a go. Let's go ahead and create one. So hold down control, middle mouse click, and let's create like 2 or so for right now. I just want to see it function. That is glorious looking. Oh, and we just got the notification. 2 corium ingots task completed. So now we can make them on demand. And that, my friends, I tell you, is the power of automation. And I hope you enjoyed today's episode and hopefully you learned something new. And if you did, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. Now, without further ado, it's time for me to slap a license plate on here and, well, give a huge thanks to the supporter of today's episode. And that amazing thanks is going to go out to Zelthires. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord, by becoming a Discord premium member, and just supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. Thank you so very much. I'll see you guys in the next one, and as always, thanks for watching.